Hey, everybody. So I am here today. My name is Cynthia McClary. And listen, I want to talk to you all just for a few, I think it's just for a few minutes. We'll see how that goes. But what I want to talk about today is identity. Identity. And so I want to share some things with you and something that I actually realized yesterday because I guess my heart, I just have uh, my heart, I guess, has this bent towards identity and knowing who you are. And yesterday morning, as I was just going through my morning, and something that I realized is one thing that I love to say is that identity, knowing who you are, is your greatest weapon of power. It's your greatest weapon of power. And now anything that is a great weapon to you, guess what? It is a great weapon against the enemy. And identity is one of the places, it's one of the areas where the enemy fights us like nobody's business. And there's a reason for that. Now remember, identity, that's a weapon that God has given you, meaning God has given you this weapon of identity so that you know who you are, so that no matter what happens, no matter what situation comes, no matter what circumstance goes on, you know who you are. Because when you know who you are, you can stand still. You can stand still and be secure in who you are, no matter what happens, no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what life throws at you. When you know who you are, there your identity is more like an anchor. It keeps you centered, it keeps you grounded. So even when the winds of life are blowing and the changes and everything else is going on, yes, you may drift one way or drift the other way, just like a boat out on the sea. And whenever the waves come, the boat, tends to go with the motion of the waves. But as long as that boat is anchored, guess what? It's not going anywhere. Yep, it may move to the left and move to the right and, all of that kind of stuff, but it's not going anywhere. Why? Because it has an anchor. And that is what your identity is. It is a weapon, plus it is an anchor. And I was just yesterday morning, I was just going through my regular routine, and it dawned on me that the reason I guess have this proclivity towards identity and knowing who you are and the importance of that is because that is the place that the enemy has fought me. I almost want to say the most in my life is identity, my identity. So when I'm talking to you about identity, I'm talking to you about identity because I know the struggle of identity. I know the struggle of not feeling like I was worth it, not feeling like I was good enough, not feeling like what I had was enough. I know that feeling. I know that feeling and I know it well because again, that is the place in my life that where the enemy has like fought me the most. And what I realized yesterday is I'm sorry, I didn't realize this yesterday, but the enemy does not want you to know who you are. Why? Well, as long as you don't know who you are, the enemy can come into your life and he can wreak havoc on your life. He can do anything that he wants to do with your life, to your life, in your life, through your life, by your life, for your life. He can do anything. Not knowing who you are, that basically gives the enemy free access, free reign to just come in and do whatever he wants. Because literally, it's like your life having no owner. And so the enemy just comes in and he turns your life around. He tells you what to do, how to do it, etc. So when you don't realize who you are, and that's what the enemy is counting on. He's banking on that. The enemy is banking on you not knowing who you are because as long as you don't know who you are, he'll be able to tell you anything. And guess what you're going to do? you're going to believe it. He'll be able to tell you anything and you'll believe it. But when you know who you are, then you know the truth of who you are, he can bring whatever he wants to bring into these ears, into your sight line, into your mind. But when you know the truth of who you are, then you're just not going to fall for his games. So, your identity, it is your greatest weapon of power. And we have got to be on ball. But what I wanted to share this morning concerning this is, so identity, it has been my greatest area of struggle. And I thought about this yesterday. Your greatest challenge is going to always come or be in the area that God wants to use you the most. That's where your greatest challenge is always going to come from. And I want to share some of my identity struggles. So one of my identity struggle was just in the fact of, can God use me? Like, does God have a purpose for my life? Does he have a use for my life? Like, am I even qualified? I remember when I first like came into relationship with God, and not really when I first came into relationship with God, but like when God first started bothering me. That's what I call it. That's what I call it. I call it when God first started bothering me, when he first started like knocking on the door of my heart. I literally, because of the fact that I did not see myself as someone that God, I didn't see myself. I knew what I wanted to do with my life, but I didn't see myself as 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 like God's hand is on you, or anything like that. And so when I had my encounter with God, and it was like God came and knocked on my door, and I opened the door, and I'm like, dude, I think you got the wrong address. And God was sure that he had the right address, but I was trying to tell him, no, sir, I don't think you have the right address, because who you're looking for does not live here. And I know somebody else probably has struggled with that same thing, but um, I had to realize that, girl, God knows so much more than you. He knows so much more than you. But I really struggled with that part of me, like God, can you use me? How are you going to use me? Why would you want to use me? Like, come on, do you know how many other people there are in this world? Because I didn't, something that kept me in the place of not knowing who I was, even though here's God trying to tell me who I am and saying, this is my plan for you and this is what I need you to do. And I'm like, I don't think you know what you're doing this time. I don't think you realize that you have the wrong person. But I struggled with that fact. I struggled with that, and I struggled with it for a long time because I didn't see myself as worthy. I didn't see myself as worthy, meaning like I always thought like you had to be like this, I don't know, like this, like an angel or something. And then one day, growing up, I actually heard somebody say that, unless you've been through something, God cannot use you. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm disqualified because I haven't been through anything. Like I know people that have struggled with this or struggled with that, or they may have experienced rape or molestation, or I mean, just something. And so that always played in the back of my mind. Unless you've been through something, God can't use you. Unless you've been through something, God can't use you. And so when God showed up that day at my house, and I'm like, dude, I haven't been through anything. So what can you do? I mean, you can't do anything with me because I haven't been through anything. I don't believe that that is always true, but that is one of the things that I struggled with. And so when, as far as my identity in Christ, and whether or not God could use me, that always sat in the back of my mind. It always sat in the back of my mind. And so that became my fight. That became my fight because I was trying to get God to change his mind. Because I thought surely you don't know what you're doing this time. But so yesterday when I was thinking about this yesterday, I thought about other people, like Lord, why would you make identity like a part of my heartstring? And the reason God made identity a part of my heartstring is because of the fact that I struggled with it. And I say I struggled, but there I still struggle sometimes with my identity and with who I am. Like, ooh, I don't know whether I want to share this, but I'll share it because hopefully my sharing this is going to help somebody else. So I'm a person who sometimes I have vivid dreams or visions or things like this. And so one time I had this occasion where I did have these dreams and visions, and they turned out the way that they turned out. But in the process of it, I lost my confidence. In the process of it, I lost my confidence. And your confidence is connected to your identity. And so when I lost my confidence, I forgot who I was. So now remember, me knowing who I was has always been a struggle for me, especially when it comes to the things of God. It's always been a struggle because I never thought that I was good enough. Like, I never thought I was good enough. I never thought I was right enough. I never thought I was whatever enough. And so God took me through this journey and took me through this process and built my confidence and built it up to the place where like he was able to use my mouth to speak to other people or to say something to other people. And there was this moment where I spoke to other people. I did what I was supposed to do. And when I tell you, in the natural, it seemed like it blew up in my face. Oh, it blew up in my face. Not because that the things that were said were false, but because I guess the time wasn't ready to handle the things that were said. I don't even know how to explain it, or I don't want to explain it right now. But and so when that happened in my life, and I remember now, I'm one who struggles with my identity. Like God, are you really trying to push me forward? Like God, like I have something that someone can use. Like I have something that you can use, God. So I've always struggled. Well, not always. I only struggled with my identity once I started liking God. Like seriously. Um, but I struggled with my identity. And so once God took me through this process and I have my confidence built up, and so he says, this is what I need you to do. And I do that thing. And that thing literally blows up in my natural face. And the confidence that I had, when I tell you my confidence plummeted to zero, my confidence plummeted to zero. And it didn't plummet because I was wrong. It plummeted because of the circumstances and situations that grew out of that particular thing. And so I lost confidence. I lost confidence in my ability to hear God, which I heard God and I heard him right. I heard him accurately. I heard him right and I heard him accurately. But because this situation blew up in my face, now I'm questioning myself. Like, am I hearing God? Am I hearing accurately? And it kind of sent my life into a spiral. And so I went back to the place of not knowing who I was. I went back to the place of no longer being confident in me, no longer being confident in my ability to hear God. And now I just did a video the other day about the opinions of people, right? Right? And so I'm doing these videos because not because I'm like, barking at you, telling you what not to do. Listen, I'm barking at you, telling you, of course, what not to do, but I'm doing that because I don't want you to go through the same things that I went through. Okay. So if I can help you skip a step in this process and jump ahead, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. And so yeah, that left me doubting myself, doubting just so many things. And what I actually became a shell of who I really was because I became afraid. I questioned God. I'm like I would ask God 50 million and 11 times before I would take a step. And then I would take a step and then I would run back to the starting line. And then I would take another step, and I'd take two or three more steps, but I was never confident. I was never confident because I lost that place of who I was. I lost that. I lost that grip. I lost that grind. I don't know what to call it, but I lost that. I lost who I was. I literally forgot who I was. There is a scripture that says, it talks about the man who sees himself in the mirror, and then as soon as he walks away from the mirror, he forgets how he looks. Well, that was me because I struggled with who I was. And I struggled with who I was because I held more, um, I guess I held more esteem to that situation that happened and how it left me feeling than I did. I gave more attention and more I gave more attention and more esteem to that situation and how it left me feeling, my opinions, my feelings, all those kind of stuff, than I did to God. And so for years I struggled. For years I struggled, and I would always just hear God saying, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. That's all I need you to do, baby girl, is trust me, trust me, trust me. I need you to stop doubting me. I need you to trust me. If I told you something the first time, in spite of anything that has ever happened, I haven't changed my mind. I haven't taken it back. Do you think that I did not know what was going to happen? Everything that has happened, God already knew it was going to happen. But I lost confidence. I lost confidence and I'm talking about years. I'm not talking about, oh, I wasn't confident for 1 month. I'm talking about years. I went through life for years, not knowing, forgetting who I was, forgetting that. Now I knew I was God's child now. Okay, I knew that. But I'm saying I went through life for years doubting who I was. God would tell me to do something and I'd be like, I don't think I'm qualified. I'm gonna need you to get somebody else to do it. I struggled. And when I tell you I struggled, I struggled. I started settling for things that I shouldn't settle for. Oh my goodness, I struggled. I struggled, I struggled, I struggled. All because I lost confidence in who I was. So I lost my identity. And when I lost my identity, ooh, when I tell you the enemy, I almost want to say he had a field day with my life because that's a good way to put it. Wrong decisions, wrong steps, wrong moves. That was me. So when I see people who are in a place of struggle with because and whatever the struggle is, see, my struggle may be different than your struggle. We may never struggle with the same things. But when it comes to identity, the only reason why the enemy fights us so hard, and tries to keep the blinders on our eyes, over our eyes concerning who we are, is because the moment he knows that the moment that our eyes are open to who we really are, there's absolutely nothing he can do to us from that point. Like like when your eyes become open to who you really are in God, then that means the enemy no longer has a pawn that he can use to further his agenda. Now the enemy will use you not knowing who you are to do things, to say things, to be things, to walk in a way that you would never ever walk if you knew who you were. And now here's here's a place or a grip that the enemy tries to keep on our life. When you don't know who you are, you will never do the things that God has ordained, appointed, and anointed for you to do in your life. And that's one thing that the enemy banks on. As long as the enemy can keep you blinded to who you are, do you know what you would do with your gifts and your talents? Do you know what you would do with your purpose? Do you know what you would do with your strengths and even your weaknesses? You will sit on them. The treasure that God has placed in you, as long as you don't know who you are, you will sit on those things, and you will hear God literally telling you, girl, get up. Get up. You will sense him shaking you in your sleep. Girl, get up. I need you to wake up because you have work to do. You have a job to do. I need you. I have need of you. But when you're in that place where you're struggling with your identity, for one reason or another, when you're in that place where you're struggling with your identity, it's like you make it a habit of ignoring God. You may feel him pricking in your heart, telling you to go, telling you to do whatever it is that he's telling you to do. But when you don't know who you are, you become comfortable sitting in the place of not enough. You become comfortable sitting in the place of get somebody else to do it. You become comfortable staying in the place that you actually want to get out of. So the enemy uses that to his advantage. Because when you don't know who you are, you can't move forward. And what are you moving forward to? You're moving forward to your destiny. You're moving forward to your purpose. You're moving forward to everything that God has predestined your life for. But if the enemy can keep you bound, if he can keep you confused, if he can keep you doubting who you are in Christ, then not only can he keep you bound, but he can keep control of your finances. He can keep control of your relationships. You know how you get in those relationships and it's like, Lord, I know I ain't supposed to be here, but somehow or another I ended up here. Check your identity. hmm Because your identity is also tied to your worth. hmm So when the enemy has you bound, as long as he can keep you bound and as long as he can keep you confused, he can keep you afraid. He will keep you fearful. He will keep you questioning God. He will keep you in a place where you may say the right things, and to everybody else around you it may look like you're doing the right things, and it may look like you have the faith to move mountains. But when you don't know who you are, even though you're saying the things and you're speaking the things, you won't believe the very things that you say. And identity struggle is not anything new. It's not anything new. And I know you know that. But identity struggle is not anything new. I think about Moses. Moses had a stutter. Yeah, Moses had a stutter. And the thing that he was insecure in, which was a part of who he is now, but the thing that he was insecure in is actually the thing that God wanted to use. So I said earlier that the place that you're challenged in the most, that is the place that God can use you. And so what did God do with Moses? Moses had the stutter. But God says, okay, and of course, your stutter relates to your speech, it relates to your voice. And so think of it like this right here. If God wanted to use Moses's voice, but this was the place where Moses was not confident. He wasn't confident. And God wanted to use his voice so that he would go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Same thing with Gideon. Gideon had fear. Gideon didn't really know who he was. And so when he met God, and God called Gideon a warrior, Gideon is like, that's not who I am. Because I'm scared, I'm weak, I'm fearful. But God is calling him a warrior. So a lot of times we call ourselves stuff that God is like, baby girl, that's not really who you are. I know how you feel, but just because you feel that, that's not who you are. I know who you are. God knows who we are. And he needs for us to know who we are, because that is the thing in our life. That is one of the things in our life that is going to take us from where we are into everything that he's called us to be. Because listen, with a knowing who you are comes, and now you can't know who you are. I think I've said this before. You can't know who you are without knowing whose you are. Okay? And once you know who you are, who can tell you who you're not and you believe them? And that's something the enemy always wants to do. Always want to do. Tell you, oh, you're not this, you're not that, or you're just like, or you're blah, 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 blah. That's all the enemy wants to do, is provide that chatter in your ears of who you're not. And as long as you don't know who you are, this chatter matters. Okay? Because this chatter will stop you in your steps, and it will make you sit down. It will make you shut your mouth. It will make you turn back. It will make you not move forward. It will this chatter in your ears that the enemy is speaking, like, girl, this is you, you know, you're not, no, you're not, no, you can't, blah 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 blah. All of that chatter in your ears that the enemy is providing as it relates to your identity and who you are. This chatter matters when you don't know who you are. So how do you get to know who you are? By getting to know the one who made you. And now you just can't get to know him one day and then just be like, well, I know him and that's it. But you have to get to know him and then keep developing and strengthening your relationship with him so that you get to the point and you get to the place that no matter what happens in life, no matter the outcome, the situation, the circumstance, no matter what happens, your identity becomes the anchor that keeps you grounded in everything. One of the things that I wish for as many people as possible is that we all would begin to like if God could exchange our eyes for his eyes. So like he takes our eyes and then he gives us his eyes so that we actually see ourselves the way that he sees us. That would be like the most awesome thing ever. Because when we don't see ourselves the way that God sees us, we always sell ourselves short. And we'll always find ourselves on the list of, I can't. We'll always find ourselves in the place of impossible. We'll always find ourselves in the place of lack. We'll always find ourselves in the place of not enough. We'll always find ourselves in the place of insufficiency and insecurity. Of all the weapons that you have in your arsenal, knowing who you are is your greatest weapon of power. Because once you learn who you are, there is nothing that the enemy can do to stop you. Mm-mm. Because when you get that confidence in you, you'll start kicking down doors. You'll start building doors, creating doors where there were no doors. Okay? You will start not taking no as the answer, like excuse you, but let me see somebody else or whatever. So that is my hope, that we will grow more confident in who we are in God, and that we will give him whatever it is that we're struggling with, whatever our struggle is, so that he will be able to teach us, so that he will teach us who we are, and that we will learn to love exactly who we are in him and be confident in that thing. Be confident in who he has made us. So that is my rant, I guess, for today. Listen, love you all. I hope you subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my YouTube page. I'm sorry, this is YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. I have a Facebook page. It's Cynthia McClary. I have an Instagram, also as Cynthia McClary, and also subscribe to my podcast. The podcast is I'm That Proverbs 31 Girl. So subscribe. It's available wherever you listen to your podcast at. If you're listening to podcasts somewhere else and I'm not there, leave a comment in the comment section and just say, hey, I need you to get over on whatever platform you're on. And I'll try my best to do that, because I want to be where you are so that we can help each other along this journey. Listen, I love you all, and I will see you next time.